eating more healthy food and will probably be stronger and healthier, funny thing. Then there's other disease and infection, I think, generally led to people's deaths. I'm not saying they live really long lives, but anyway, side note. And so going back to the oven, they take out all the heat, and there's so much heat in the oven, that's when they put in the bread and stuff, and just the heat in the bricks and the stone is of such strength that they can retain it, and that's how they can control temperature, because it will lower at a fairly gradual rate, but stay fairly consistent, and so if it's too hot, they'll wait, they put it in, and then they can time or just keep an eye on when the... Once you're plowed and planted, what do you have to do? You just need to... Okay, there's actually a lot of time in between the main crazy work things for an average farmer, and that leaves them room to do other things. Maybe they want to help build a barn, okay, or they want to build a mill, or let alone building. If they have animals, okay, animals would increase the work, and every medieval home would at least have a garden. Not every, sorry, a lot, of course. There is some validity to it, but I still feel there is choice and there is a way you can break outside of the wage. Get fibres from your wool or whatever and turn it into fibres, make clothes or linen, or you grow flax, turn that into linen and make linen sheets, or you wanted to create cheese and stuff, and so all these options were available to you, and you got to choose what you wanted to do, what you liked. And if you like cheese, making cheese, well, you probably enjoyed doing that. And then you could sell the produce that you had, at the local market or whatever, and you might focus on one kind of thing, and then in between the moments of work and stuff, well, there were festivals everywhere. They loved to party, okay? And then they loved games. And not only they not only loved games, they loved story and song, okay? So singing, the idea of the bard or the troubadour, the storyteller and stuff like that, people took that up as a profession because it was so enjoyed. And that didn't mean that they had to wait for a troubadour or whatever to come through to tell a story. There would be the local story, like heck, everyone would know stories, and they'd love to share stories about King Arthur. What is it, Blion? But there's another garment that this one has a lot of overlap. There are so many trends that I was noticing in my research. The hoopland seems more often to be an outer garment, a type of coat that you would wear when you're going out into the elements and things. Keep yourself really warm. This is your overcoat, okay? Whereas the blion looks like a primary garment, okay? Now, the difference between a blion and a tunic, and this applies to the hoopland, is the size of the sleeves. One of the distinctions between the hoopland and the blion, it looks like more hooplands were represented having, it is pronounced, I pronounce it blion because it's like spelt with a T, but no, they said, Shad, it's pronounced blion. That sounds like a very French word. It is a blion. Anyway, so the blion is awkward for me to say it, and it's hard to like, and this one is like, is that a blion or a hoopland? People say it's a version of the hoopland, okay, the earlier version of hoopland, but it looks very much like the blion as well. And that is the herigot, like how you spell it right there. So, like you could use that in lieu of these terms. It's an earlier version. If you Google it, you'll find some interesting hits, and they just like hoopland, blion, herigot. Hard to say. So the blion and the hoopland, just another thing, the length can be knee length to ankle length, as I mentioned, but if it's shorter, I've never found any examples of either of these garments being waist length. Remember, support themselves adequately, quite well, and in some instances, buy really extravagant fancy clothing, no sleeves at all. There does seem to be a type of distinction between what you would more classically identify as a female type of surcoat. The surcoat generally an outer garment that you would wear over something else because it doesn't have sleeves, and sleeves keep you warm, and so any type of garment that has sleeves would be garment. That in the modern day, if someone was wearing them like today, we would call them a dress. But I found two medieval artworks, one on a guy, one on a woman, and what they're wearing? Those are monastic scapulars over regular dress, okay? And then don't look to be like monks. So they were also worn. Those are not tabard, okay? A tabard is a type of outer garment. This is an outer coat specifically, all right? That you would wear over top anything else without anything over. Call it a tunic, okay? Like for instance, picture a surcoat, okay? Like what a knight wears, and replace it with a padded type of thing. It suddenly is a gambeson, even though it's got the same cut as a surcoat. Picture a tunic. replace it with padding. It's a gambeson now, okay? And so the gambeson is a more broader term that applies to lots of different cuts and types of outfits. That's interesting because that seems to be another point of distinction for another type of garment that is the weird kind of crossover thing between armor and regular clothing, and that is the jupon. The jupon is a tricky thing to try and identify because when I see things called jupons, certain versions, I look and say, that's almost exactly what you would call a tabar.